Excuse the hair. But I'd like to give thanks to SQ for their nuts on this beautiful sunny day at Mammoth Mountains. So, I am here at Mammoth Snowboarding, one of my passions, one of my hobbies that I only discovered when I think I was like 32 years old. So not something that, I grew up with, and definitely not something that I'm good at. The slopes are beautiful today. Look at that. It is beautiful. Nobody's around. It's gorgeous. Thanksgiving week just went by. The past few days have been packed. So it wasn't very fun. But now that the Thanksgiving crowd has gone, this whole place is literally empty. And that's what I like about snowboarding. Sometimes you come out to the slopes and you have the whole place to yourself. It's very quiet and it's just you, the board, and the snow. And I think that's something that's important to us entrepreneurs as well. I think that's one of the habits that I had as an entrepreneur growing up and working on my business. One of the habits that we absolutely must have is the habit of having a growth mindset. We absolutely must have growth, because if we do not have growth, that basically means that we are stagnating. And stagnating is almost as good as, taking steps backwards. Running businesses requires us to always be on our feet, because competition doesn't just come from the actual competitors that we have, but also with the industries that we are in. The markets that we literally serve can change overnight. And so that's why it's so important to really be able to grow and to adapt and to evolve and be able to accommodate the changing needs of our market, of our customers. And I like that also because that's the same kind of growth mindset that I bring to snowboarding. I think snowboarding is not easy. It's super tough. I didn't grow up as a very athletic or sporty person. So that's something that, it doesn't come naturally to me. So I had to put a lot of practice in. I think it took me days just before I could get comfortable on the board. As in just being able to balance by myself, just being able to control my movements, because everything is so brand new. I didn't skate, I didn't do any board sports when I was younger, so yeah. But what I really like about it and what I appreciate about it is that there's this notion of constantly challenging yourself. And I realized that's something that I needed to have when I grew my business also. When I grew my business, and the same thing happens with you as well, I think a lot of times, we get into this state that we get comfortable with things, and that's literally our comfort zone. That is not a good place to be in. Whether it's business, whether it's our personal life, whether it's our relationships that we have, or any other aspects of our our lives. I think the comfort zone is one of the most scary places to be in, because that literally gets us so comfortable that we stop taking risks, we stop challenging ourselves, we stop growing. And so I think that's one of the fundamental reasons or fundamental concepts that we need to have a growth mindset. And that is really to make sure that we don't get comfortable with things. Yeah, so with snowboarding, I think that's the same kind of mindset that I bring as well. We need to make sure that we're not just like snowboarding down, like being comfortable with the things that we learn and we are okay with. We got to constantly challenge ourselves, right? I realize that sometimes, if I just let myself do the things that I'm comfortable with, that I want to do, right? I'm just snowboarding down normally. I'm just snowboarding down with the things that I know that I'm absolutely comfortable with, that I've done thousands of times before. And so there's no growth, right? What needs to be done is I've got to practice the tricks, the different kind of tricks that snowboarding has. I need to make sure that I use different stances. I need to make sure that even the foot that I have forward on my snowboard is different, right? That's riding switch, and it happens in all kinds of board sports. You can literally just do what you do all the time, but if you do that, there's no growth. You don't get better. You don't get more comfortable with the board. You don't get more used to movements that you're not comfortable with. You don't know about. You don't understand yet. So that's the only thing that needs to be done, right? To have that practice, to have that constant challenge, to have that notion of progress. And I think that's something that we can definitely have in all aspects of our lives. So what I normally do is, in snowboarding, there's usually a chairlift that you take all the way up to the mountains, right there. You can see a chairlift. So when I do that, I go up to the top mountains, and then I look down the slope, and I have a mental model and a mental list, a checklist of the things that I want to do, that I want to practice, that I know that I'm not good at, that I want to do. And on the run down, rather than to stick to what's comfortable to me, I practice that. I practice, making sure that I can do jumps, making sure that I can do ollies, making sure that I can ride switch, making sure that I instead of being on the groomed runs, I start exploring a little bit of the side hits, so that I get comfortable with them. And that's the same thing that we can apply to in business as well. Maybe you're really good at sales, maybe you're really good at programming, maybe you're an engineering expert. But if you constantly stick with that, and you constantly have the notion that what you know is best, then you're not going to progress. You're not going to be able to take in new perspectives. You're not going to be able to consider new, points of knowledge. You're not going to be able to, pivot the business if necessary. And that's a dangerous point to be in. So I think it's even more precarious in business if you only keep to what's comfortable for you. So what I normally do is to make sure that I ask myself, what I'm doing today good for my business? Is what I'm doing today something that the customers want? Or is what I'm doing merely just something that I am comfortable with, that I've done thousands of times before, that I know that I'm good at, but might not necessarily be the best, right, for the business moving forward? It might not necessarily be the best in terms of helping people. It might not necessarily be the best in terms of evolving your skill set. And so that's something that we don't want to be in a position. And so that's what I think a growth mindset is. If this is something that resonates with you, let me know. Let me know how you institute a growth mindset in your personal life, in your career, in the things that you do, in your passions, in your hobbies. Because I don't know about you, but one of the things that I really want to do is to make sure that I constantly have this notion of progress, that I constantly make sure that I am getting better every day, right? It doesn't have to be by leaps and bounds, but every single day that I do whatever it is, whether it's business or if it's snowboarding, that I progress that tiny little bit, right? And then I think that's something that can translate into whatever we do. Our businesses, our companies, our teams, the culture that we build, the personal lives that we lead, the families that we lead as well. So that's what I think about a growth mindset. Once again, if you guys like this, let me know, right? If you don't like it, let me know as well. I can do a version 2, version 3, version 4 of this video. One of the things that I want to do is to really give you the kind of value that you need to grow the businesses and scale them into the businesses that you want to have, right? We need systems, we need processes, we need the people on our teams in order to do that. Like, subscribe, share, let me know in the comments down below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care, guys.